Hello, everyone. Hope y'all are doing well. I'm on more antibiotics trying to recover from this medication side effect of some type of fungal bacterial infection. And man, you get kind of tired of antibiotics. But anyway, I'm slowly trying to get him back into my projects. Some of these footages is kind of some older things that I have shot doing some tests, uh, mold making tests and concepts of how I go about, doing the whole 3D printed molding process. And, I've made a lot of molds, especially being in the dental lab industry for a number of years. Just get where it's kind of mold making is an art form. And I've seen some beautiful molds in my time. And I like making molds because, it takes a lot of skill, but having a 3D printer, you can eliminate a lot of the other, I guess, the conventional way of like doing a mold process. But I have these two frames here, and I've kind of made it, a three-piece mold. And the main thing is that now I have the so-called this is just a concept of the so-called core that's already inserted in that mold. It will not be molded. It will be inserted after the molding of the creature. That way, we'll put the creature sculpt on this, and then we'll have two of them. We'll have a core and we'll have a creature sculpt. And we're molding the creature sculpt, and that's like those vent holes there where I can, place one on there, one of the frames on there, make a dam, a divider wall, and then I can pour like probably mold mold star 30 and pour that in there, and then take it apart, remove the clay wall, and then pour the other part. And then we would remove the creature from the mold, and then we'd add our separators, and then we would close all three parts together. And then at the bottom, I'm designing it where we would have to turn it upside down and pour it from the bottom. That way, I'd have one pour hole and two vent holes, and that way it would travel and not, you'd have to go to the high points to where all the air would go to the high points, so you wouldn't have any trapped air. But that's the so-called concept I've come up with as far as molding, a 3D printed um, way that I've been researching a lot of this. And you eliminate a lot of processes with 3D printing, and you could still do it the same conventional way. And being something like this, you could do a brush on silicone and do a number of layers. And I've done those before, and it's quite time consuming. And I've done pour molds, or matrix molds they've called them. Then you add your so-called mother mold, either a type of epoxy, or either some type of plaster or gypsum, or even uh, I guess ultracal 30. But it's just like this piece right here. What I'm doing is I've kind of wanted to reduce the size of the chest piece, and as you see here, I'm kind of like kind of narrowing it down some, and then that way it'll give me some space, because the length of this whole mold so far is a little under 300. And this is why I'm doing the concept, because that's going to determine what size printer I'm going to be needing. And see, I wouldn't be able to divide the core. The core needs to stay in one piece. And then I'm going to have space for the so-called molding silicone. And then when I mold the creature and remove it, it will create a space where the skin's going to be when I put in the core. And then that way, when we demold, there will be skin on it, and then I can remove it and we can put the silicone skin onto the animatronic. And it should fit like strictly made for this animatronic piece. And it should fit like a glove. But the thickness of the silicone is basically, I'm shooting at a thickness for anywhere from 3 millimeters to 5 millimeters, maybe 6 in some of the neck area. I don't want it too. I mean, it's really flexible. It's EcoFlex 30, no EcoFlex 10. It's really flexible. I just don't want it to be giving me a raincoat effect, I call it, where it's too thick, too rigid silicone. But that's what I'm going with. And as you see here, here's the mold plate, and all this once again is still in concept. I'm thinking that this is what we're going to do because it would be I believe it would work, and like once again in a dental lab industry for years, and I've made a lot of molds and did a lot of teeth molds, and I've made a lot of latex mask in the past, but this right here would eliminate a lot of materials because I'd have a machine that's making my mother mold. And then that way, this would be like a two-part matrix mold. But here you see me just kind of in ZBrush just trying to get the concept of so-called doing the core. Now I'm working on the core, and what I'm on the core itself is I'm removing everything that's inside the core or inside the animatronic, all the servos. There's no sense of having anything inside of it, and that's just going to reduce it. All I'm wanting is the outside, and any holes like around the neck, I'm going to have to add something because we just want like a bust of the animatronic, and we want it to where the skin hugs the skull and hugs the chest, and that way it will. I mean, this so-called mask bust will fit this animatronic like a glove. But once again, it's as far as the widest part, which is the so-called plate, the base plate for the core. It's a little under 300 millimeters. So that would mean I would need a good printer that would print a 300 millimeter, mold. And plus I'm going to be printing uh, the core also. And but I think it's going to work out well, and I'm just trying to get finish up on the core and just get things moving. And then I have other projects that I'm working on. I've been kind of tinkering around with this a newborn, and been doing some of that, and just trying to get back in it. Ever since my mother passed away, first of the month, it's just been kind of and being kind of sick, and just trying to slowly get back into it. And once again, hey, I know some of y'all might know, and I appreciate all the, once again, all the prayers and condolences. It means a lot. But this is another thing I've been working on. Now, this was something I did. I have a lot of videos that I just like to share with you, but this is another animatronic thing I had been working on. Y'all had seen it on a previous video, and but I mean, this concept looks okay, but I kind of wanted to do the animatronic werewolf type, but make it more of a conventional looking wolf. And I'm a big creature fan of a werewolf, and I was just doing some like little concept designs here, but it's going to be something that we'll do on our next animatronic when we get this other one made, and be able to play around with this. But it's going to be probably, as far as the head, under 200 millimeters, and it should be able to snarl, upper lip, muzzle, and eyebrows, and probably, it will blink. Now the eyes won't move. It'll just be, you know, probably probably going to go with taxidermy eyes. Now, as far as making your own eyes, and I make a lot of my own eyes, but that's that's something else that we'll probably go on this YouTube channel on how to make glass eyes, the way I like doing them. But and I made quite a few eyes, and I made a lot of creature teeth. And also, we're going to start doing the animatronic. I'm going to mold the animatronic uh, its set of teeth and cast them in dental acrylic. And but just trying to get everything back into the swing of things. But here I'm just adding some smaller ears to it, and these will rotate kind of like the same way to where they'll be able to turn and tilt. If ears down if they're mad or whatever. But it's coming along, and kind of a new. I want to do this so-called gimbal. Uh, just this gimbal here just will be using uh, 3 standard servos, and just kind of avoid it. Make the servo do all the tilt mechanisms. But I'm just sitting here and took this little uh, sculpt, bring it into uh, the so-called wolf skull into ZBrush, and just wanted to put some skin on it just to get an idea on size, and try my best not to make it into an alligator. And but I like a good wolf, but just mainly it's going to have you know servos in the muzzle to control the muzzle and the nose, and try to keep things in that location area, and then be able to have, probably taxidermy eyes and a blinking mechanism. And then what I do here, like I did the creature earlier, is I reduce it so I can get the proper measurements, so I can make the skull narrower, and then I'll just know how to, make the skull correctly. And I'm trying to make it more like a realistic wolf than a creature wolf. And I get my glass eyes from Van Dyke's Taxidermy Supply, and they've been around for years. And they have some beautiful eyes, and they all come in different sizes. And I even, they have wolf eyes, but in this case, here are some of the eyes I'll probably be using as African lion eyes, and they basically have the same color of a wolf, or a wolf eye, and that's something that I'd probably be using. But as you see here, I got the low poly version, and now I can work the skull that's underneath this to correctly, and just try to get my measurements and the thickness. And this will probably have skin on it, so we can punch hair in it, have some detail around, but we won't have to do the entire head. I'll just do some earpieces in silicone, and then I'll do a face, and then we'll probably have some type of neck membrane of some sort, some kind of fabric, that we can cover the neck mechanism, or we might even sculpt it some kind of skin. Hey, but I appreciate y'all, and hope y'all like, and thank you for all the subscribers and likes.